Welcome, dear listener. Before we begin our soothing journey tonight, I gently invite you to pause, take a deep breath, and if you find this peaceful tale comforting, consider supporting this cozy corner by clicking like and subscribe. Now close your eyes or simply rest them. Let go of the day behind you. Let the world grow soft. We are about to step far away from the present, into the warm, fragrant, flickering world of the medieval kitchen. A world of stone hearths, wooden ladles, honey-drizzled loaves, and bubbling pots of stew. This is the tale of what people truly ate in the Middle Ages, gently told to help you rest, breathe, and sleep. Part 1. The Awakening Hearth. The morning begins not with alarms or phones, but with the first crackle of the hearth. It is the year 1283, in the heart of a small English village surrounded by dew-wet meadows, oak forests, and narrow muddy paths. The kitchen, if we could call it that, is part of a low-beamed cottage, its walls thick with wattle and daub, its roof thatched with straw. There is no separation between kitchen and home. The hearth is the heart. The fire is sacred. And today it is Marjorie, the matron of the home, who rises first, her bare feet silent on the packed earth floor, her hands wrapped in her rough woolen shawl. She kneels by the hearth, built of stones blackened with age, and carefully fans last night's embers. Soft orange glows awaken, the smell of ash, the whisper of smoke, and soon the crackling begins. She adds kindling, sticks and twigs gathered the day before, and soon a slow warmth breathes through the home. The kitchen is alive once more. The first meal, bread and broth. Marjorie's first task of the day is to prepare breakfast. But this is no rush of frying pans or clinking silver. In medieval England, the first meal was often simple, practical, sustaining, and often reused. She reaches for a thick, round loaf of rye bread, dark and heavy, made with coarsely ground grains from their own village mill. It was baked 2 days ago, but still good, perhaps even better now with its chewy heart and sour crust. She slices it with care, though knives are not sharp like ours and the blade is dull, worn. The bread is laid in a shallow wooden bowl. Then from the hanging pot over the hearth, she ladles a warm, savory pottage, a slow-simmered mix of barley, onions, cabbage, and the last few turnips from winter's store. The steam rises. The scent is mild, herbal. She spoons the hot liquid over the bread until it softens. This, dear listener, is the commoner's breakfast. Humble, hearty, and served in silence. The humble ingredients. Marjorie's kitchen is not stocked with spices from far-off lands. Those belong to kings, merchants, or monasteries. Instead, her flavors come from the earth. From a small wooden shelf near the door, she gathers a pinch of ground mustard seed, pungent and yellow. A few dried leeks tied with twine and hung upside down. A cloth pouch of salt, precious and coarse. And above the hearth, dried herbs swing gently in the rising warmth. Sage, parsley, and nettles, gathered in summer and bundled with love. These are her treasures. These are her tools. Cooking without clocks, Marjorie does not measure in teaspoons or time in minutes. She knows the language of bubbles. She listens to the simmering rhythm of barley softening. She watches the color of cabbage change as it warms. She stirs with a wooden spoon worn smooth by years of use. Her pot is heavy iron, soot-streaked, black midnight, and perfectly seasoned. Sometimes she places stones heated in the fire into her pot to speed the boil. Sometimes she covers it with a cloth soaked in vinegar to trap flavor. All this passed from mother to daughter, neighbor to friend. There are no cookbooks, only memory, only instinct. Midday gathering, the meal of sharing. By midday, the kitchen is bustling. The children return from the nearby pasture, their cheeks pink and fingers chilled. Marjorie's husband, a thatcher, brings in a small bag of hazelnuts and 2 scruffy rabbits caught in traps. They will be skinned outside under the apple tree and boiled into stew for supper. But for now, she serves cheese, pale, crumbly, sharp-smelling, made from the milk of their only goat, whose name is Lettuce. There are radishes freshly pulled, a few apples, wrinkled but sweet, and ale weak and fermented, safer than water from the stream. They eat not from plates, but from shared wooden trenchers, hollowed slabs of bread, or flat boards. No forks, only spoons and fingers. Laughter fills the room, as does the smell of earth, fire, and cheese. The medieval kitchen is not sterile. It is alive. The garden and the forage. As the sun moves westward, Marjorie steps outside to her kitchen garden. It is a patch of green near the house, fenced with sticks, guarded by old shoes hung to scare birds. Here grow her favorites: peas climbing tall, garlic fierce and fragrant, fennel for digestion, lovage tall and spiced. She picks sorrel leaves, bright and lemony, and a handful of violet flowers, edible, lovely, and a treat for the children. In the forest, they'll gather wild mushrooms, though always cautiously. And in summer, they will dry rose hips, elderberries, and nettles to last through winter. Nature is pantry. The hedgerow is a market. Evening falls. The cooks glow. As twilight deepens, the hearth becomes the brightest thing in the home. Tonight's supper is a treat. The rabbits, now skinned and cleaned, are chopped and added to the stew. To the pot, Marjorie adds barley, onions, and a splash of vinegar. A handful of dried prunes go in too, for sweetness and balance. The stew bubbles thick and brown, its scent rich with depth. It will feed the whole family and perhaps a neighbor or two. Outside, the stars appear, one by one. Inside, bowls are filled, heads bow. Thanks are whispered, not to gods of silver, but to the earth itself. This is food. This is love. This is the medieval kitchen. Part 2. The hearth's gentle hum. The kitchen was always the soul of a medieval home. Not just a place for meals, but a space where warmth met wood, where spice met simmer, and where every meal told a quiet story. As we step into the kitchen of a modest English manor, the heavy wooden door creaks open slowly. A rush of warmth greets us. The stone hearth glows with low orange coals. The air is filled with the earthy scent of onions, carrots, and barley soaking in a bubbling pot. A plump cook in a linen apron hums softly, her sleeves rolled past her elbows. She is stirring the pot slowly with a thick wooden spoon. Her movements are gentle, practiced, almost meditative. Hanging above the hearth is an iron cauldron. It has fed dozens, maybe hundreds, over the years. Every scratch in its side, every layer of soot, carries the memory of seasons gone by. To her left, laid carefully on a wide wooden board, are ingredients harvested from the manor garden just that morning. Carrots, turnips, leeks, a small bunch of parsley, a handful of dried peas, and tucked in a linen cloth, a precious wedge of hard cheese, sharp, aged, and full of flavor. The cook leans down, her breath even and calm, adding a sprinkle of salt, precious and traded from faraway lands. It is used sparingly, thoughtfully, a reminder of how each flavor in this world had to be earned. And there, near the stone window ledge, sits a round loaf of dark bread made with rye and oats, baked the day before in the communal oven shared by the village. She tears a piece slowly, dipping it into the broth to test the flavor. a smile. Just right. In the corner, a young kitchen boy is grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle thyme, sage, a hint of garlic dried from the garden. The sound of the grinding stone, the quiet pop of bubbles from the pot, the soft patter of feet on stone floor. It all blends into a quiet rhythm, a lullaby of labor and care, one that's lasted for centuries. In the medieval kitchen, food wasn't just survival, it was storytelling. Every stew whispered of seasons past. Every loaf spoke of hands that kneaded it with love. Every herb was a prayer for health, flavor, and warmth. And now, as the morning passes, and the hearth flickers with gentle flames, the kitchen hums on quietly, softly, steadily, like time itself. Part 3. The noon meal and the village table. The sun has risen high in the sky. Its golden rays spill through the tiny window panes of oiled parchment, filtering into the kitchen like honey. Outside, birds chirp lazily. A rooster struts proudly across the dusty yard, and hens cluck near the doorway, pecking at crumbs. The manor is alive with quiet activity, yet in the kitchen, time seems to slow. The cook wipes her hands on her apron, then kneels beside a small, sturdy chest in the corner of the kitchen. Inside it are cloth-wrapped bundles, dried mushrooms gathered from the edge of the woods, pungent onions plaited into braids, salt pork, smoked and aged for months, its sharp aroma preserved beneath thick waxed cloth. And at the very bottom, a few precious eggs. She handles them with reverence. They will not go into the stuno. These are for the Lord's family, perhaps for a custard or a soft poached treat. But for now, she takes out the smoked pork, slices off a few thin ribbons, and tosses them into the pot. A rich scent fills the air, earthy, savory, homey. The broth thickens slowly. The barley softens. The turnips dissolve into creamy sweetness. This is pottage, the heartbeat of every medieval home. A slow simmered stew that changes with the seasons, with what little one has, and with great care. Today's pottage is humble, but it is warm. It is nourishing. And in these times, that means everything. At the long wooden table just outside the kitchen, rough linen cloths are laid out. Wooden bowls, carved by hand, sit in a neat row. A jug of ale sits beside each one, brewed from barley and herbs. Not strong, not bitter, but enough to cleanse the palate and settle the belly. There is no silver, no fine china, only smooth spoons and the sound of the cook calling the servants in. They enter quietly, tired from chores. Their hands are rough from wool and wheat and wood. But when they sit, when they breathe in the steam from the bowl, something softens. The youngest girl dips her spoon and giggles at the warmth. The stable boy savors each bite like it's a feast. And the old gardener, with shaking hands, closes his eyes for a moment, as though he's tasting something sacred. Because in many ways, he is. Here in the medieval kitchen, food is never wasted. Bread crusts are fried with garlic and parsley to make a simple delight. The bones from last week's roast are boiled again to make a thin broth. Even the ash from the hearth is sifted to clean iron pans. Waste not, want not. Everything has purpose. Above them, herbs dangle from the rafter sage, mint, lavender, rosemary, not just for flavor, but for healing, for repelling pests, for scenting linens. A pot of alagrum rests in the cool corner, a spiced drink made from mead, rose petals, and honey. It will be served only at feast days, but its presence is enough to bring comfort. In this world of stone and soil, where luxuries are rare and hardship is plenty. The kitchen is where the soul breathes. And as the noon meal draws to a close, the bowls are stacked. The cloths are shaken out the window for the birds. The spoons are rinsed in rainwater and laid on a board to dry. The fire still crackles. The coals still glow, and the heart of the kitchen beats on. Quiet, warm, and full of stories yet untold. Part 4. The baker's hearth and the sacred art of bread. The noon sun fades into a warm, golden hush. Shadows grow longer. The air is thick with the scent of earth and embers. At the edge of the village, beyond the stone cottages and the chirping of birds, a curl of smoke rises from a low building with thick clay walls. It is the bakehouse, a sacred space of its own. Not everyone has an oven in their home. To bake bread, most rely on this place, a shared hearth, tended by the village baker, who rises long before dawn every day, without fail. Inside the bakehouse, the warmth is deep and steady. A massive stone oven rests against the far wall, its wide mouth dark with soot, its dome radiating heat like a sun. Beside it, rows of dough rounds wait beneath linen cloths proofing, swelling gently with the breath of yeast. These are not airy loaves, soft like clouds. No, these are dense, dark rounds of rye and barley. They are coarse, heavy, filled with cracked grain, bits of oat, and sometimes, if the harvest was kind, a handful of dried berries or herbs. The baker moves silently, hands dusted with flour, his every step a part of a ritual rolling, shaping, scoring, sliding. Each loaf has meaning. Each batch tells a story. Bread is more than food in this time. It is the staff of life, the sign of survival, the comfort of routine, in a world where everything else changes with the wind. He remembers which family needs softer crusts for an old grandfather's teeth. He adds a little extra caraway for the midwife's loaf. He marks a small cross atop the noble's bread, not out of superstition, but out of quiet reverence. As evening nears, the first batch cools on a wooden board. The crusts crackle in the silence. The scent fills the room, warm, nutty, ancient. A village child peeks through the doorway. The baker smiles and breaks off a small heel, still steaming. She clutches it in her little fingers and runs off, leaving laughter behind. Some loaves will be used as trenchers, flat rounds to soak up stew. Afterward, they'll be fed to pigs or crumbled for birds. Nothing will be wasted. Others will be bartered, a loaf for an egg, 2 loaves for a day's firewood. And some, precious few, will be saved for holy days, sliced carefully and dipped in honeyed wine. In noble halls where tapestries line the walls and oil lamps flicker, the bread served is white, fine, soft, made from sifted wheat flour. It is rare, expensive, and often imported. But in the kitchen, behind those grand walls, even the cooks prefer the dark bread thick with seeds and warmth and memory, because it tastes of the land, of history, of resilience. And as the stars begin to appear one by one in the velvet sky, the village settles into quiet once more. Bells toll the hour. The kitchen hearth is stoked again. Tomorrow the baking will begin anew, and once more flour and fire will weave together the simple magic of life. Part 5. Market Day. The flavors of the world come to town. The sky is pearl gray when the first cart rolls in. Wooden wheels creak along the dirt path as roosters crow and dew still clings to every blade of grass. It is market day in the medieval town, and that means color, it means noise, and most of all, it means food. Down the winding, cobbled lanes, villagers begin to gather. Old women in woolen shawls, children with baskets on their arms, men with coins tucked deep in leather pouches. And from beyond the gates come the traveler. Peddlers, traders, spice sellers, fishermen, apothecaries. Some from the coast, others from villages hidden in the forest. And a few with stories on their tongues and sand still in their boots. The air is brisk, but soon the town square hums like a hive. Carts unfold into stalls. Bright fabrics stretch overhead to shade the goods. And oh, what goods there are. Grain sellers, first to arrive, always. They bring barley, rye, oats, and the rare, precious sacks of wheat. The grains shine in the morning light, like gold dust. A merchant with a crooked smile offers malted barley for ale making. Another has sprouted rye for those who ferment their own vinegars. People run their fingers through the piles, weighing them like treasure. Cheese and butter. Next, the dairy maids arrive. Wooden crates lined with cloth hold wheels of aged cheese, some speckled with herbs, others coated in ash. Clay pots of thick, golden butter sit near soft goat's cheese wrapped in leaves. A small child is given a morsel of tangy cheese on a wooden stick. She wrinkles her nose, then smiles with delight. Fishmongers and saltmen. From the coast, fishmongers bring barrels of salted cod and kippers. Their voices are loud. Their coats smell like the sea. They offer eels coiled like ropes in buckets of muddy water, and smoked herring hung on string, their skins still glistening. Salt, white and rough, comes from long miles away, brought in great sacks from salt pans by the sea. It is expensive, but without it, nothing keeps. Herb wives and apothecaries. Dried bundles of sage, thyme, rosemary, bay, and lavender are tied with string, swinging from poles like leafy bells. They also sell nettles, sorrel, and wild garlic for soups and healing teas. One crone offers a potion of elderberry and clove to soothe coughs and bring sleep. She hums as she sells. Nobody knows her age. She's always just been there. Meats and spices. And now the nobles' cooks arrive. Eyes sharp, baskets fine. They visit the butcher who displays fresh cuts, pork, beef, and game. Slabs of boar, joints of venison, tongues and trotters. If one is lucky, there may be pigeon, duck, or a suckling pig turning slowly on a spit. Beside him, a spice seller from far away rolls out a velvet-lined box. Inside are glass jars, tiny, delicate, filled with gold and fire. Cinnamon, nutmeg, saffron, pepper, cloves. Most villagers have never tasted them. They are not for stew pots, but for feasts and kings. A single jar might cost more than a horse. And yet, one woman buys a pinch of cumin to bake into her bread on the first day of spring. She smiles. It is enough. Fruits, sweets, and ale. On the far edge of the market, children gather. Why? Because here sit apples, red and tart. Pears, soft and bruised. Bowls of blackberries and dried plums. And best of all, a baker has brought a tray of sweet honey tarts, glazed with rosewater. They are expensive, but even smelling them is a joy. Next to the fruit cart, a brewer taps a cask of brown ale, frothy and sharp. The older men raise a cup. It is a small celebration because they've survived another winter, and soon the bells begin to ring. The market day ends with song. Stalls fold. Carts rattle out of town. The square returns to silence. Only the scent remains of fish and herbs and bread and spice. Sleep now, dear traveler. Let your dreams be full of marketplaces and laughter, of soft cheeses and warm cider, of stories whispered over baskets of pears. Part 6. the noble feasts. A night of splendor and flavor. A horn sounds in the evening mist. Its deep, slow call echoes across fields and through thickets, alerting every villager and servant that tonight is a feast night. In the grand stone manor at the edge of the village, a place of candlelight and carved wood preparations have begun. The hearths blaze with fire, barrels are opened, and the noble lord has sent word. All shall eat. All shall witness the bounty of his hall. The cook, a round woman with flour on her sleeves, barks orders like a general. In the kitchen, her staff moves like dancers. Bread is kneaded and slid into ovens. Boar is spit roasted, crackling above hot coals. Turnips, parsnips, carrots, and onions are boiled into a savory stew, thickened with crushed barley and just a trace of vinegar. Above the fire, a massive cauldron of pottage simmers, slowly its bubbling song filling the stone kitchen with warmth. And still, more dishes appear. Roasted delights. The feast would not be complete without spectacle. And so the cooks prepare peacock, feathers intact, roasted, then redressed for display. Hedgehog-shaped meatballs, spiced and studded with almonds. Stuffed goose, filled with apples, sage, and onions. The meats are brushed with honey and mustard seeds, then gilded with gold leaf for the eyes as much as the tongue. Outside, a servant runs, careful not to drop a tray of giblet pies, steam trailing behind like a ghost. Pies and pastries. On a long oak table sit dozens of pies. Rabbit and leek, tucked in buttery crusts. Mushroom and cheese wrapped in pastry shaped like fish. Fruit pasties with blackberry and plum, their juices bubbling up through tiny holes. Each pie bears a crest or mark pressed into its tops so that diners know what secrets lie within. And to accompany these, pitchers of mead, ale, and spiced wine are poured. The great hall. Inside the hall, the guests arrive. The lord and lady sit beneath a tapestry of lions and lilies. The long table stretches before them, flanked by benches, and lit by tallow candles, dripping slow wax onto silver plates. Laughter rises. A harpist plucks gentle notes in the corner. And down the hall, a juggler tosses bright apples in the air, catching each one with a grin. When the lord lifts his goblet, the feast begins. Trenchers, stale rounds of bread are used in place of plates. Onto them, servants ladle stews, meats, sauces, and greens. Guests eat with their fingers or knives. Napkins are tucked into belts. Elbows are rarely seen on the table. Manners are strict here. But the joy is free. Each bite is rich and warm. The honey-glazed boar falls apart. The barley stew soothes the cold bones. The fruit pies leave sugar on every lip. And the ale brings stories of hunting, of storms, of old love. One old knight tells a tale of a pie so good it stopped a war. He may be joking, but no one doubts the power of pie tonight. Dessert and music. At last, the final course arrives. Golden marchpane, a sweet made from almond paste, shaped into castles and birds. Tiny tarts filled with quince jelly and crushed nuts. Warm spiced milk, gently frothed and poured into wooden cups. The minstrels play faster now. A young boy sings a folk tune. A girl spins in a circle, dizzy from joy and honey. The nobleman laughs. The lady smiles. For tonight, even the coldest stone feels warm. And above the great hall, outside in the moonlight, the stars twinkle like spilled salt. Part 7. The kitchen garden herbs, bees, and healing. The sun rises slowly over the manor grounds, its golden fingers brushing the dew from leaves. The world stirs, Not with haste, but with harmony. And in a walled nook near the kitchens, shielded from the wind, warmed by the eastern sun, lies the kitchen garden. It is small, but sacred. A patch of paradise for cooks and healers alike. Here herbs grow in orderly rose parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, their leaves shimmering in the early light. The scent rises in the morning air. Warm, spicy, sweet. The breath of centuries. A young kitchen girl, Ellen, is already at work. She wears a simple woolen dress and a linen coif over her braided hair. She hums as she gathers leaves, her fingers soft and sure. She picks marjoram for flavoring thick soups, mint to steep in sweetened wine, lovage for broths, fennel, with its delicate feathery tops and licorice scent, and there, tucked among the stones, a clump of chamomile, ready for tea. The bees and their secrets. Near the center of the garden stands a line of wicker bee skips. The bees hum gently, never angry, always focused. The air is rich with the smell of wildflowers and wax. Brother Aelric, the old monk herbalist, arrives with slow steps. His robes smell of earth and lavender. He nods to Ellen and kneels before the hives. He whispers a blessing to the bees. Gentle keepers of sweetness, may your honey be golden and your stings be few. Today he will harvest a little honey using smoke and patience. Not too much, only enough to sweeten the cook's pot and the healer's draft. For honey is sacred here. It cures sore throats, heals wounds, and glazes roasts. It is both food and medicine. Flowers of health and hope. Beyond the herbs, other plants bloom. Calendula for swelling and bruises. Yarrow to stop bleeding. Valerian to soothe sleep. Rue said to guard against bad humors. And wild garlic good for the heart. Brother Aelric shows Ellen how to clip the leaves with care. He speaks slowly, gently, his voice like a bubbling stream. Every plant has a purpose, child, he says. Even the ones that sting, even the ones that smell strange. Ellen nods wide-eyed as she touches the nettles carefully. They will be boiled and added to pottage, rich in iron, good for winter strength. Behind the garden, an apple tree leans over the stone wall. Its fruit is small, tart, and red. Ellen plucks one and bites into it. Sharp, clean, real. The taste of the land, infusions and tonics. Back inside the kitchen, the herbal bench is warmed by sunbeams. Earthenware jars line the shelf. Each holds dried petals, chopped roots, powdered bark. The healer's corner smells of cinnamon and ash, sage and vinegar. Today, Ellen will help brew. A sleep tonic with valerian honey and warm goat's milk. A cold remedy of horehound, mint, and lemon balm. A stomach elixir made from fennel seeds and dried ginger. The pot bubbles gently, and the steam curls like dreams. Cooks walk past, dipping spoons into the pots, one size, like heaven in a cup. The evening candle. As dusk falls again, the garden falls slump. The bees return home. The mint sleeps. The moonlight touches the lavender and thyme. Ellen lights a small candle at the garden, shrine dedicated to Saint Hildegard, patron of herbal healers. She bows her head. Thank you for the green world, for the leaf, the flower, the root, for food that heals and herbs that sing. Then she returns to the warm stone kitchenshire basket full, her heart fuller still. Sleep now, traveler of time. Let the taste of honey and roasted meats settle in your dreams. Let the music of lutes and laughter echo gently in your heart. For when you wake, we shall visit the kitchen garden, where herbs grow wild and bees dance over mint and marjoram.